Welcome back to the DeliveringMore platform, folks. I'm your host, Ben Alkire. Thank you so much for your consumption morning, afternoon, and evening. We appreciate it. As always, if you could, hit that subscribe button down below. That's going to help us out more than you could ever know. I have another fantastic episode of the DeliveringMore podcast to get into you folks today. I have a gentleman very well known within the catering and restaurant industry, most well known for his time with Monkey Soft Solutions, creating that software, selling it off the Easy Cater, taking some time off, and now he's back with the Off-Premises Growth Academy, and we're here to talk about the restaurant catering workshop today with Erle Dardick.
Hey, Ben, good to see you.
This is the second time in 3 months.
Yeah, listen, we got to hang out in Vegas, which was fun, so that was good, right? And, we all retreat back to our caves and off we go. I'm working in my basement here, but I got this set up now, look, I got my monkeys, but this is my memorabilia from the old days,
Yeah, are you a King Kong guy? What do we got here down in your bottom?
No, well, these are, this was monkey, right? These were the monkeys. So,
okay.
We collected these little guys. Like this guy's cool. He's a baker, and he's got a poison bottle of poison. He's kind of fun. It's fun too. Look, he's got a little pistol in the back.
Okay.
So these are, famous Japanese artists that really design these things, and people collect them, and we had a little collection going.
I like it. Is this where you're working, your workspace as of recently? Is this your home office? Where are you?
This is my home office. It's I struggle with it. Like it works for I'm trying to figure out my space still. So, I'm doing more media stuff, so it works for that. But yeah, I work out of the house. I work off site. Try and be where I am.
Yeah, I'm honestly a big fan. You've been posting a lot of video content lately, and you're doing a hell of a job at it, man. I think the video phone storytelling aspect it's an easy way to get into it, and you seem like you're a natural.
Ben, I feel like nobody's listening, Ben. I don't know. Like I'm on this journey. Like I'm trying just to be me. I'm trying to talk about like what I know to be true. It's a whole conversation because, I sold my company. I retired. I took a break. I did all that. And I'm coming back out in this new iteration, which is like, why am I even doing it is the question. I've been asking myself, why am I even doing it? So, what I've been going through these loops, like I sold my company. That was a great win. It took me a while to figure that out. Missed my friends and missed my colleagues, missed my work. There was a lot of elements of selling a company that you lose after, and that took a while to kind of sort through and figure out. Did a little stint at Olo for a while, did some stuff at Lunchbox for a bit, just kind of trying to figure out what's next in my journey. And, where I landed really was, the best thing I can do, certainly at the moment, is just to be independent, tell my story, which is, of course, a unique story in terms of like, I had a deli, it was going out of business. I used catering as a strategy to fix the deli. I built software for my deli. I ended up down in the commissary bakery space and ended up licensing my tech to, more than 10,000 restaurants at the time, which is, now there's more than 40,000 restaurants using Monkey, which is, I'm very proud of that, So I'm trying to figure out like, how do I serve the industry more? And that's interesting because everybody's busy, their heads down, they're doing their thing. The network's moved on, people are busy. And so like cutting through the noise is not easy. And it's disruptive and some people like it, some people don't. But, at the end of the day, I'm looking towards ski season, Ben, which is coming up soon.
All right. And I think what your hedgehog kind of concept and your life of things and where you found your most success with the Monkey solution, it's the catering realm, right? You mentioned Tony's Deli. I think you're doing multiple millions of sales through that catering funnel at the time of that business. And you're kind of going full circle, coming back into the catering industry of things. I know you and I have had a handful of conversations off camera in regard to solutions and what's taking place in this realm of things. But when we're now on the cusp of the restaurant catering workshop coming up October 15th and 16th, Denver, Colorado. I know there's going to be a ton of things that we're talking about, focusing on, but I guess for me, I just wanted to candidly ask to begin here and start at this place for those unaware, unfamiliar, maybe tuning in for the first time and becoming familiar with you right now. What do you think is still missing in this catering realm, and what was the catalyst for creating this restaurant catering workshop?
It's been 5 years since I took a break, a real break, and so much has changed, but nothing has changed. It's just such an interesting thing to watch, and I'm so impressed with young entrepreneurs, Aaron, like you guys, like they've just kind of like come into this space and grown it even further, and helping with the last mile and evolving into Deliver. That's not just a delivery company. You guys are a tech empire already by this point, building technology for deliveries, managing the fleets and the people. I mean, it's a whole different thing. And you're one of many, there's lots out there, right? So like the space has just changed completely, but nothing has changed, when it comes to catering. And so, the real impetus for me was I realized, like, first of all, the restaurant industry is something I love. Okay. It's a subset of the food service industry from my perspective. It has a very unique set of challenges. And so when I speak about catering out of restaurants, it's very specific to restaurant operators. And I'm gonna live or die on that, Ben, because at the end of the day, I mean, look, I did well with that, right? That served me and my family, and I have a lot of abundance in my life. I'm very lucky. The food business has been very good to me, specifically catering out of restaurants has been very good to me and my family. And that comes out of doing very high quality work, right? And really, when I reflect back on my journey, which is now coming up on 30 years, right? I look back and I see like the base of this industry. I was in that. I didn't know at the time. I was just trying to stay alive, not die on the vine as a growing tech company and selling very sophisticated technology in a space that's very unsophisticated, restaurants, we're way behind in tech, and, it's just, anyway. So I did all these flip-flops, and as I thought about it, I thought to myself, like, what's next here? What has to happen? Because the evolution of the industry is such where now, we still talk about catering. There's a lot of environments where like marketing owns catering in restaurants and chains. And I'm going like, red flag, like, no, you know, like you can't just say we cater, you know, you actually have to cater, which is, so, catering is an operations-based problem. So one side of the industry, which is the operations side, the operators, there's so much work to be done to help restaurant operators to understand the opportunity, because we're in a $1 trillion industry, which we're competing head on with grocery, convenience stores coming in and crowding the space. There's all these segments, restaurants are now competing with where they weren't before. There's just so many more choices, right? And so what I feel is happening in an industry, if we look back historically, okay, is like we're in 2024 now. And if we roll back 50 years, 50 years is when point of sale first showed up on the scene, right? POS came around, I don't know, 70s maybe, 80s was a huge blowout, right? Aloha, Micros, like all these, that happened. Then the 90s came, and then e-commerce came, right? Olo, and, all these companies, e-commerce, boom, 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 boom. Everything went web-based. Cloud-based solutions were behind that in the back end of this thing, like me, right? We came in, and then came the marketplaces, which is like a whole other, and this thing happened. And we're now moving into a place where the only frontier that's left for restaurant operators to be able to really make money in their operations. And I'm talking specifically, we're focusing in like QSR. Okay. So fast casual, okay. Fast food will be first. Casual dining is going to be behind it. And then fine dining will be way back. Okay. So essentially, driving efficiency into the kitchens is the next frontier. Has to be, because we're now into multi-channel management, which means that restaurants are getting bombarded from orders from everywhere, not just first party, but it's third party. And it's not just one third party, but there's 10 third parties. Okay. The catering is the same. It's its own, it has its, Easy Cater's got its own thing, it's different than what. And so Restaurants are being relegated into a pressure point where orders are coming from everywhere and they're omni-channel and different channels. And the only way for them to be able to survive that and make money at it, okay, is going to be to look at their efficiency of their operations. The business to business channel is going to be the game changer. That is the channel that when brands figure out that they can sell directly to them, okay, they can manage relationships with them, they can have products and services directly related to them. They can provide them with accounting services to manage their accounts receivable and all the things that go with doing B2B transactions. They can do all the production, fulfillment, which is looking forward. It's batch-based manufacturing, which is what catering is, because we're looking always forward. Typically, there is some last minute that's unique to restaurants environments, but so there's this whole thing that has to happen in the space for restaurants to really get their minds wrapped around the opportunity, because we're being told that catering is a $124 billion industry. Certain slice of that is for restaurants. Layering that channel inside your restaurant is an interesting challenge for most restaurant companies. And so the workshop is really all about the thesis of this. There's two parts. Strategy and education have to be in place. There's investments that have to get made. There's 12 of them. We're going to talk about them. There's 109 characteristics and behaviors in terms of our framework that, restaurant brands have to put into their companies. Okay. We have to measure those KPIs, measure those metrics. What we measure gets better. And then, of course, there is, the strategic framework that surrounds it. That ROI, which is a financial model that's directly attached to those investments, when you scale it out across hundreds of restaurants or thousands, is an incredible opportunity for restaurants in a big way. Okay. Marrying that with technology, that's my passion. And that's where the truth has to come out. Okay. Which is where restaurants are really challenged, because the tech space is so crowded and the marketing dollars are flowing really hard. And, they're spending money, they're using the language, they're saying this. But at the end of the day, operators need to understand what they need and what they're buying. Okay. And that is the workshop.
I mean, it's going to be full. I mean, you mentioned almost all the topics that are going to be included while we're on site at this thing. Something I think would be an easiest segue that you mentioned a ton of, these restaurants and these brands taking in orders from left, right, center, in-house, online ordering, marketplaces. It's coming from everywhere. And something I know you've brought up a handful of times is these brands are basically just becoming light food manufacturing facilities at this point in time. And I know one of the sectors of this workshop is going to be talking about the ERP space and solutions that brings to the forefront. I think gentlemen from CaterZen and Flex Catering will be on that panel. ERP, the first time I had ever heard it was in a conversation with you. I was very uninformed on what it was, had to kind of look into a little bit more. But where's the ERP space right now, and how does that provide a solution to what these restaurants can do moving forward?
A great question, Ben. So I had to really slow down after my transaction to take a deep dive into why Monkey particularly surfaced up as, the number one solution in catering in the restaurant space. I really had to look at that because it was unique, I don't know why. Even today, it's sticky. Like, people can't easily displace it. Even under the stewardship of Easy Cater, there's a lot of love, hate. I mean, it's a whole conversation. We don't need to go into that. Okay. But at the end of the day, it's like, what's important to understand is the product itself, the workflow, the data elements that it collects, the UI that it provides, which is providing the users with the tools that they need to execute their catering business every single day. Okay. The reason why that happened, of course, at the beginning, I designed it around Tony's Deli, right? So that was that was the beginning. But what really brought it to life in the next generation was the work that we did in the commissary and bakery space. So Monkey, before it pivoted back into being the number one solution for catering in the restaurant space, it spent time in the inside the commissary and bakery space. And at that time, way back, it went into like supply chain management, formulas, recipes. I mean, it went all the way down, it was like a whole thing. And so in our strategy, as we went back to market, we had an opportunity to go back into restaurants to do catering, but they didn't need all the supply chain management. So it was the top portion. Okay. which became what I would call the category killer. Half the application. The other half, we lost it. We went, no, we're not going to do it. And that half basically was CRM, order management, accounting, production, and delivery. Okay. All web-based. And so it was coming out of the food manufacturing environment is why it became such a category killer. Okay. And so the thesis and why I'm saying ERP is this. If in fact restaurants are opening their gates to be able to take orders from any channel or most channels. So I've got my takeout business. I've got my drive-through business. I can sell that direct, either one of those. I might have a third party. I can do DoorDash Marketplace, Uber Eats Marketplace. The order might come to me that way. Okay. I might have my own delivery driver, or I might use DoorDash Drive, or for my catering orders, I might use Deliver That. Okay. I need lots of flexibility and fluidity in distribution. Today, you can outsource sales, you can outsource answering your phones, you can outsource delivery, and that relegates you into food manufacturing. Okay. Because basically, food manufacturers do that. If I have a bakery, I usually have a sales agency that's selling my stuff in. I can't get listed inside Kroger's otherwise. Okay, so the same dynamics are starting to show. And the difference between restaurants and food manufacturers is restaurants still get a retail dollar, okay, through their front doors and sometimes out their back door when they're doing first-party transactions. When you go into the marketplace business, you drive volume, you're getting into a wholesale-based business. Okay, because there's so much downward pressure on price at the consumer level from takeout. We all know delivery is getting expensive. Consumers are pulling back, all that. We're all reading the same stuff. Okay, so the only way to survive that process is to provide a limited menu experience per channel. So if you want to be successful on DoorDash or Uber Eats, you publish a menu that's very limited at a category level, and you drive the transactions to a production line. Because you need volume. That's now a wholesale transaction. Your margins in that business are different than what you're getting elsewhere. Okay. Do you need to be there? Yeah, you do. But if you do it right, you're going to drive volume to a limited set of products, which is going to create efficiency in manufacturing, which is going to improve your margins. Because you can only make money through volume if you're in a lower margin business. Okay. So that's on the takeout channel. Catering is its own thing, it has its own other channel. Orders are coming in from EasyCater. Orders are coming in direct. Orders are coming in through, partnerships like New Catering Connections or Tracy and the crew, Orders are coming in from all different places, and again, you've got a different subset of products. It's a different experience. The order entry is different. The information we're collecting is different. The order dynamics are completely different. The manufacturing is different. Everything is different, Ben. Okay? Everything. So that's why you need to have a subset technology system, an order bucket, if you will, that catches these orders and gives the operators the tools that they need to slice the turkey, to get the labels for the box lunches, to get everything assembled, to get the pack slips, to get everything. So when Deliver That arrives, they've got everything they need. Okay. And even further than that, which is the sophistication we're now getting into, is that through Deliver That's technology, it's now connecting to the order management technology, which is eliminating the paper trail and creating some seamless experiences between the partners and the manufacturers. Okay. So, and that's all leading up into AI, voice, robotics. There's no question in my mind that at some point, if you're a sandwich concept and you have 400 restaurants, you're not going to be putting mustard on the bread by hand in 10 years. That's not happening. Okay. That's going to be on a production line. A robotic arm is going to mustard the bread. And you're going to be driving thousands of sandwiches to that line because it's coming from everywhere. Okay. And that is the dynamic that we're facing.
It's a crazy scope to kind of paint such a blunt picture of the future, to think of that's the realm we're pushing towards and getting into. But I can't, it's hard to really disagree with that line of thinking when the production has to be that consistent and that fast and move that quickly. What other solution is there that's going to provide that kind of experience and do it over and over and over in a replicated manner.
100%. And what I'm talking about, like we're talking channels here, Ben. So like the B2B channel, the business to business channel, right now we call it catering. The truth is Easy Cater has it right. It's the food at work movement. Okay. By the way, Dilip over at ShareBite just published an amazing blog. I send you the link after. You should send it to your listeners. It's amazing. Um, and he went back and sort of found in the history of American culture was that companies used to feed their employees every day. In the 1930s, 1920, like, times were bad, man. People didn't have money. They couldn't go, they couldn't afford grocery. Like companies fed their people, So this food at work movement is kind of recycling a bit. Like we see that happening again, right? Which is not just catering, but it's also feeding employees at work through cafeterias and all kinds of ways. And during the pandemic, as you know, so much of that got disrupted, right? Because, Aramark, Compass, Sodexo, these are companies that were, managing large contracts for, manufacturing plants. Like Toyota would have a contract with Sodexo for 12 plants across the US, for example. Those all shut down during the pandemic. Okay. A lot of them did not open again. And what you have there now is a dynamic where brands can build relationships, corporate relationships with those companies, and they can deliver food every day. Okay. Like Easy Cater's doing that. Okay. Like they've got that. So they figured it out, so that was their pivot during the pandemic. And of course, they found a market that's very much real and is available to restaurants. And so when you look at the workshop agenda and I open up with this idea of like getting out of the box here for restaurants, which is to say, look, we need to look at food manufacturing as a model, okay, for what is going to define our kitchens potentially moving forward. And this is very forward thinking, Ben. Like it's just like it's going to take time to get there, but we're seeing it. Like we're seeing, Chick-fil-A's figured it out. They've got like, off-prem only kitchens. You can't go in there. You can't sit down. It's just like it's a factory. Okay. ERP software, enterprise resource planning software, B2B management software is driving those commissaries.
You mentioned her, and you're talking about the opening of the workshop. You brought up a name a little bit previously. You got Tracy, New Catering Connections, founder Byron Duncan, friend of the program. You're opening up the workshop with Tracy. And I just wanted to ask you, you kind of spoke on how these brands can create relationships with these large businesses and get those contracts underway and maybe make sure they can drive business in that manner. I think New Catering Connections drives a lot of their education in that kind of realm. What's impressed you about what New Catering Connections has been able to build?
Tracy is not alone on that panel. We've got, I believe it's Gracie Presenson from Jason's Deli. We've got Alan Beck from Costa Vida. We've got, I'm going to leave someone out, of course, I'm going by memory. We've got Tracy on there. I believe Jim Rand is going to help facilitate on that one. And we're really focused on the first primary challenge that when we ask operators, like we put a survey out, we ask people like, what is the biggest thing, right? And they're all going sales, right? Got to get sales. So the first part of the program is focused on how do you actually get catering sales? And then we're talking about this ecosystem of not just investing into first party sales professionals, catering sales professionals, but in fact, complementing that with people like New Catering Connections. Easy Cater plays a very important role in that process. And you got to create this ecosystem of what I would call a team, which is a combination of like putting in your own effort with your own salespeople, using an outsourced partner, and then, using a marketplace partner. Okay. Those are all really important things, or more than one partner, because you want to drive all the transactions and your customers, you want to be in front of them wherever they want to be. Okay. Now the challenge you have is, of course, we all know that third-party direct transactions, if someone places an order with me directly for $1,000, I make more money on that than if Easy Cater sends me an order for $1,000. But saying that, if Easy Cater didn't send me that order for $1,000, I might not have had it. Okay. And so, and they have true marketing dollars and efforts and costs and all that stuff. So, brands are still trying to get their minds wrapped around like whose customer is it? Okay. I think what's really cool about New Catering Connections, and Tracy, by the way, is not going to talk about New Catering Connections. We're really talking about the best practices of how do you go get catering sales. Like, what are the steps? How do you do it? How do you build relationships? What does sampling look like? How do you convert? How do you prospect? Like, that's what we're going to be talking about. Okay. And, but what's so impressive about their group is they've been able to go from like 2 or 3 people who were just basically, taking their skills, going into a market, getting like 10 restaurants together and saying, oh, we'll sell your catering services. And off they went and they started having success. And now they're up to 46 people. They're supporting 600 restaurants and it's working. And so I'm going like, I actually talked to Tracy yesterday. So what I love about it is it's old school, Ben. It's like, like I said, so many things have changed. Nothing's changed. It's not technology. It's literally old fashioned elbow grease. You know, they're using a database. They're doing phone calls. They're leaving messages. They're doing follow ups. They're diligent. They're bam, 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 bam. And guess what's happening? Okay. They're converting. Yeah, they're converting. So love it. So that's session number 1. We're going to spend our time on that.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I think doing the old school methods, having some foot soldiers out there, I think it is sometimes maybe easier than trying to use some of these newer solutions. I think that's kind of an interesting point to talk about. The session immediately following, I got to plug it because I got our guy, co-founder Aaron Hoffman, deliver that. And this is a heavy hitter panel here. We got founder of Ovation, Zach Oates. We got Jim Rand popping back out, Samir from 1111. Bill, I believe, is a part of the OPGA, Off-Premises Growth Academy, and then Jason Schlenker, a call center representative, I believe. Inktel, I believe, is the company he's a part of. So where do you even start there? I know the panel is about strategic investments and how these brands can actually invest in their catering funnel, but that's a lot of guys with a lot of ideas, a lot of thoughts. So how do you make sure we're focused on one topic and what are we going to be talking about?
Yeah, great question. These are always the regrets of these workshops is, we got 45 minutes to 50 minutes to pack it in and then some questions. Like it's not easy, right? So I'm trying to get to the point. Okay. And this is back to the flow of the day. It goes back to the night before where we're going to be setting up the stage to say, look, we're looking at food manufacturing to look at the B2B workflow and solutions, okay, and strategies for catering. That's the thesis, okay? We're then getting into the number one challenge that operators tell us, which is how do I get sales? We're going to do that, okay? The framework that we have, that there's other frameworks, like Jim Rand has his own framework, and like there's lots of different ways of going about it. But in the case of the Off-Premises Growth Academy, our framework is made up of the 5 stages, 12 investments, and 109 characteristics. Okay. So this session is focused on the 12 investments. And those investments are partnerships and supply chain partners that you need to invest in, okay, to be able to accelerate your program, your catering program. Okay. And so what does that mean? Well, when we look at the investments, we look at things like call center. It's an option. You can do it yourself. You can look to a partner. There's many partners. In this case, we're bringing Jason Schlenker to the table as a subject matter expert. He's going to be speaking to whoever's there about the benefits of call center, why it's important, what's working, what's not working, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, as an example. In the case of Aaron Hoffman, okay, this is our DSP, the catering delivery partner. Okay, Aaron's going to be talking about the benefits of doing that. Okay, do you have a hybrid fleet? Do you not have a hybrid fleet? What are the pros and cons of that? And on we go. Samir is there because leadership is a key investment. Samir is a recruiter. He helps people to find catering leaders. That's what he does. So we brought him to the table. My only regret is I don't have room for everybody because there's 12. Okay. So we can't have 12 people on the stage because nobody would have time to speak. So that session is focused on all of the non-technology related things that restaurant operators need to invest in to be able to scale up and get the returns and results that they're hoping for. By the way, all of these investments are tied to a spreadsheet. It's a return on investment spreadsheet that we're probably going to share at the workshop. I'm not sure yet. It's pretty sophisticated. We get lost in there for a long time and I don't want to. So, but nevertheless, I'm going to make people aware of a tool that they can use to actually plug these numbers and see what it looks like. Because, the biggest thing I've learned, Ben, in this thing is like brands at scale underestimate the opportunity. You probably see that in everything, everywhere you go. Like if you take a brand with 100 restaurants, okay, catering is not their core business. It's this little side thing, you know? It's a rounding error for a lot of people. But when they take the aggregate, when you look at it and you see the opportunity, so if I'm looking at a 100-unit chain, I'm looking at it going, okay, 100 units, probably everybody could cater in that type of environment. And I'm going, $250,000 incremental sales. I can tell you how to get there. I'm not going to, not in this podcast. I can tell you how you're going to get there. Okay. But that's incremental sales of $250,000 or more per restaurant. So when I'm talking to a 100-unit chain, I'm thinking of a $25 million business. Okay. And when you take a $25 million business on its own, you can actually make some investments into it and create some efficiencies around it to make it even better. And people miss it. They don't see it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm happy we have the workshop together to kind of focus on these things, and hopefully we can influence people to put those investments into their business. If we could circle back a little bit, I know this is mentioned very early on in the conversation, but you brought up POS a little bit, how it came into the fold 50 years ago, 70s, 80s, things like that. It's evolved a ton since that point in time. But I know a large focus, and we have a conversation happening at the workshop we're bringing back Mo, bringing back the old pals, good old days back into the fold. And we got Chris from the OPGA, talking about legacy POS and how it's just not really the solution for these catering, environments, the food manufacturing and things like that. So what's the deal with catering and legacy POS right now?
Yeah. So, my vision for this panel was to facilitate a conversation. Like, if all goes well, fingers crossed, I think it's going to. I won't say it on the podcast because it's not done yet, but we should have some very, very important e-commerce and online ordering players, call them, who are going to be hopefully participating on that panel. Okay.
Okay.
If that happens, which I think it's going to, I'm hoping, my intention is to really facilitate a conversation around what is the role of point of sale when it comes to catering transactions, Ben. Okay. There's a lot of confusion. And there's a lot of people running into what I would call the catering solutions race. There's tons. Okay. There's a convergence between like online ordering, they're building catering. You've got catering solutions like, Caters and Flex Catering. They don't have takeout. You've got ERP, which is coming into the space as well. You've got POS sits over here and they got some features and functions. And so the real, my hope is for the session that the conversation is really about why POS is potentially not the right strategy for injecting catering orders as a best practice, as an industry standard. Okay. And this is not to slam the POS guys. I actually want to invite the POS companies to come join the conversation because they have work to do to be able to accommodate those catering orders, because everybody's fighting for the transactions. Okay. Everybody.
Yeah.
So the key thing here to remember is that the business to business transaction, the data elements we collect, the questions we ask at the point of order entry, the accounting process, the payment process, there's subtleties that lay beneath in a catering transaction that don't live inside a retail transaction. Okay. And this is not just about adding a feature like a house account. That doesn't do it. Okay. Doesn't. Because you got to be able to do things like generate statements. You got to be able to do things like take deposits. Like there's functions and things that you have to do that is quite difficult to build for the most part for a lot of online ordering, software companies. So if you step back a little bit, when the e-commerce strategy started to surface, the point of least resistance was to inject orders into the point of sale system. But if we roll back in my story, Ben, okay, circa 1996,
Uh-oh.
the only reason I built Monkey was because my point of sale system wouldn't work for catering. Okay. And so I would say to you that the workflow, the business logic, the database design that sits at today's POS systems do not have the business logic required to execute catering orders, period. Not on the B2B transactions. Okay. So the question becomes, what is the role? Okay. That's the conversation we need to facilitate. Because the truth is, the role of point of sale within the context of a catering transaction for most brands, the way I know it to be, is the IT departments require data to go to the data warehouse. Okay. And so that's the only reason to integrate into point of sale. Sometimes that's the plumbing to get it up to the data warehouse. But there were often instances where we went around the POS, we went right to the data warehouse. Okay. And so there's lots of different ways of getting there. But if it's just about getting data to the data warehouse, the POS is not dependent on the transaction. I have no problem with that. Okay. Menu synchronization is another thing. Okay. People don't want to manage menus in more than one place. Okay. So you have another order management system, you need another order menu set up, like, they're going crazy. Okay. So perhaps there is a role for menu synchronization potentially within whatever tool that the brand is using to manage their menu management across multiple order management systems. Those are examples of some things. And sometimes it's the POS. So the important thing to walk away with for operators is this: you cannot depend on your current point of sale technology at the transaction level to scale up your catering business. You could probably take 1 or 2 orders a day, no problem. But if you start getting to 10, 15 orders a day, you're done. Okay. You need something else. And so the message is that, and then my hope is that and this is my encouragement, but I'm so hoping for this, is that I want to encourage the online ordering companies to invest in a back end for catering that's not dependent on POS. And if they start doing that, which is what the conversation is going to be about, then we have absolutely influenced an industry in the right direction, which is so exciting.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about that.
And the only way you can influence that is having the conversations and applying a little pressure, right?
Well, it's not even pressure. It's just being honest. And it's about just being like, everyone's guards are down and we're just having a conversation about best practices, So, there's lots of people threatened out there. Look, anybody who's in the ERP space is thinking about the space. The ones that are kind of like, we know who they are, they're kind of going, oh, others are coming in. Oh, yeah. Well, guess what? Yeah. And operators need that because they need options. And the more options they have, the easier it's going to get for them and the better it's going to get for them. And that's my passion. I want to help an industry move forward. That's my whole thing.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I appreciate that passion. Everyone loves having you around. We'll close out the workshop with a little, I guess you would call it like Ask the Experts.
So the last session of the day is split into two. The first part is a conversation with leaders. So we're going to hear from people like Jennifer Saunders Haynes. We've got Scott Davis. He's at Noodles and Company now. He was, with him and Jim Rand, Ron Shake, those guys, they were sort of the brains behind Panera's Catering, really gets it. He's at Noodles and Company now. And so we're going to facilitate a conversation, a leadership conversation. These are people who understand the framework. They've made these investments for many, many years. They know the results. They know the impact. They're going to talk about that. And then we have an Ask the Experts section, which is basically we have tables and round tables, and each table is going to be assigned an expert. And we have an amazing group of people. We have Kelly Grogan, TJ Shear, Sam Stanovich, Aaron Childs. Tracy's going to be an expert. Jim's going to be an expert. I mean, it's just, this is such, I tell you, I am so excited about what we've curated here because these are the best brains in catering within the restaurant space by far in this room, by far. Okay. But, Ben, everybody's so bloody busy, running around. They're busy. They're this, everyone's so last minute, like, look, it's a lot of work to put these things together. Networld's been an amazing partner. I mean, you guys have showed up. You've been an amazing sponsor. We got some fabulous sponsors. We got you guys. We got Donation Scout. We got Ovation. We got Caters, and we got Flex Catering. We got some I'm going to announce this week. We got some I won't say yet because we're just waiting for the contracting. Some big players that are coming. It's building. Okay, it's building. We just need to get the word out. It'd be great to have more operators. If you're a CEO, C-level, like, just slow down, man. Take a break. Come to Denver and figure out what this thing is about, because you cannot get a bigger lift anywhere in your business, especially if you're starting at the beginning. Okay. Yeah. Is it hard? Yeah. Is it work? Yeah. Is it going to take resources, time, money, energy? Of course. Okay. Like everything. And it's enough already. It's like we have an industry that says, especially C-levels, I see a lot of CEOs coming, oh, catering, yeah, that's big for us. And they run out of the room, It's like they don't even want to they don't want to be in the room. Why? I got other more important business to do. Come on, Ben. This is like, they don't want to be in there because it's hard work. It's really hard work. And they need to be in there because it's part of the core vision. It needs to be part of the core vision. We are moving into a time when catering is table stakes. It's essential for survival. Okay, absolutely. Because you're going back into your community, you're providing more services, you're connecting with your customers, giving them more solutions and more reasons to call you. There's so many reasons why you want to be in the catering business if you're in a multi-unit restaurant environment, besides the fact that if you do it right, you're going to make a ton of money. Okay? Like, I don't even know what to say. And don't just talk to me. Go look at the brands that are doing it. Jason's Deli, Einstein's, Panera. I mean, the list goes on. They've all figured it out. I'm not making it up.
If we're talking promos, you said you're excited. You got me excited. I'm ready to go. We're flying out to Denver tomorrow.
Because the only reason I came back was to try and get this message out. But at the end of the day, everyone's busy. Look, if this thing flops, I'm going to go back to skiing, Ben. I don't, like I'm focused on ski season next year in Whistler. You know, I mean, look, I need this like a hole in the head. I'm doing it because I love this industry. I have a lot of passion for it. And frankly, I want to see my friends, and people that I respect and my colleagues and that I've done a lot of really important work with. I miss that part, I miss it. And so this is an experiment, Ben. That's what this is. It's a giant experiment.
Yeah, I think it's well needed. If I'm being honest, I think I've had some ideas in my head in these days, bringing a catering conference of things to Canton, Ohio at some point in time. I think I might have mentioned to you in the past, but I mean, I agree. There just needs to be some effort and some education, and it needs to be put and dove into with the catering realm of things. I think like there's so many things with these restaurant brands they can focus on, and like you said, I mean, you put a little bit of effort into this catering thing, man, and that can change a bottom line before your store's even open.
That's why I love talking to you, because, I mean, deliver that college dorm to like what? Like, multi tens of millions of transactions, like, I don't know, over 10 years. I mean, it didn't happen overnight, but there it is, right? I mean, catering only, like a specialist in catering. Like, so, I mean, I know you guys get it. And then, and I know also that how big it is in the sense that I mean, your team feels like they're just scratching the surface, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're growing every day. It's crazy times.
Right. So like 13th month, 14th month, like why would you not do catering? Like because it's hard work or like you've got other priorities or like this is the ongoing rant that I'm going to be having in this industry is that, to tell operators to stop being so lazy and get to work. Okay. And like make the investments, hire a leader. All right. Change your program, get through it. All right. And deal with it. Get your order management software in place, get operations to own catering, get it out of marketing's hands. Okay. And the CEO gets behind it because it has to be core part of the culture. Just look at, the model for me these days, like who I'm really, really excited about, I'm watching carefully is James O'Reilly. You know, James?
Yeah. Previously with the barbecue company.
Yeah, yeah. Well, before that, Einstein's, James and I did lots of great work together, and he gets it. He's in Ascent. He's cranking up catering at imagine Perkins and Huddle House. Like, they great leadership. They brought in Barbara Blackwell. I mean, just brilliant. And I'm begging him. I'm trying to get him to come to the conference. Maybe he'll come. And that's an example. Like that's layered on top of a casual dining concept. I mean, he knows what to do. He knows step by step by step. He's doing it methodically. He's doing it intentionally. He's doing it with resources, and it's part of the plan. It's part of his core culture. Okay. And I don't know what else to say. Like, let's get James on the show. We'll talk to him. I'm going to get him on my podcast for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Do you want to plug it? Can we talk about the podcast?
Yeah. The podcast. Yeah, I committed to a podcast. It's called The Catering Cage. And, I'm doing it with Paul Barron. Paul's a good friend. I don't know if you know, Ben, that I wrote a book, right? You know that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this thing is like, I haven't picked it up in like 15, I guess it's like 14 years ago. So I don't know if you know this story, but I wrote this thing because Mo and I got into a fight one day, and it was like he goes, "Go write a book or something. Get out of my, get out of my face." And I said, "Okay, fine." So I went and I wrote this thing in 5 days, and I was so frustrated, you know. And Paul Barron, he wrote the introduction to this back then, 2010. You know, Get Catering, Grow Sales, Strategic Perspective for the Multi-Unit Restaurant Executive. This was important for me and important for the industry because what it did just was my story, but it was all a lot of predictions I made there came true. But it all led into what was the Catering Institute, right? Which was, look at all these little flashcards,
Oh yeah,
education materials,
got some pillars going on there.
you know, like these are the days. And in those days, you know, the industry was, you know, didn't understand, and they digested this information. And my most proudest, probably the thing I'm most proud about, when I stand back and I look at the industry, and I was looking at some old photos, I found all these Catering Institute photos, like with like halls filled with people, like, you know, workshop tables, seminar. And a lot of the people in those rooms were young. They were like, yeah, I was much younger. They were much younger. And now they're all the leaders in these brands, you know? It's amazing. I mean, so I feel like I was such a part of that. It's the thing I cherish most, to be honest.
I think everyone cherishes that. I think they probably appreciate all that time back then too. Can we get that book on Amazon? Is it still moving units, or is that listed anywhere?
Try. I don't care. I give it away for free. If anybody wants a PDF, I don't care. It doesn't matter anymore. Um, and my new book is really coming out in, like, the podcast. Instead of writing a new book, I'm doing the podcast. That's basically what I'm doing. I decided it's a faster medium. It's easier for me.
Yeah, a little easier to
And I'm
consume.
doing, so I got 47 episodes coming up. I recorded the first 2 last week, and I'm going to have lots of cool guests, and we're going to be diving into this. So I'm going to have you on it, and Aaron and those guys.
Hell yeah, man! I can't wait. Let's get out of here. But before we do, where can people sign up for the restaurant catering workshop, Denver, Colorado, October 15th and 16th? Be there, be there, be there. Where can they sign up? What's it about? What are we gonna do?
Excellent. Yeah, cateringworkshop.com. You'll find the agenda there. You'll find all the speakers. It's dynamic. I'm still adding a few more. They're not done yet, so I'm not finished yet, but it's mostly there. And there's a reg page there. I think there's like 2 for 1, like a half price on the second. Like, there's a whole bunch of things that. So, you know, Networld Media is my partner in this. So Fast Casual Executive Summit is running the 14th, 15th stops, and then we start the 15th in the night and go the 16th. So yeah, so come in Denver, where it's going to be a great couple of days. And, you know, thanks, Ben, for the opportunity, and hopefully we'll see some people.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to see you back in person in a couple months. This is gonna be great.
All right, Ben. Good stuff, man. Good
All
to
right.
see you. Thanks for having me today.